Uh, Hello. Sir, Namrata this side from ICAI, where the ministry people have joined. वीडियो कॉल कर दिया ऑन नहीं है. हेलो.
Good morning, ma'am. Ministry of Rural Development.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we are ready. You can begin as soon as the dignitaries come on the this link.
Okay, ma'am. Narendra, you may please initiate.
Director General, NIRD&PR. Honorable Secretary, MoD, Dr. Nagendra Sinha Saab, respected Director General, NIRD&PR, Dr. Narendra Kumar Saab, respected Madam Srimati Reena Johari, AS and FA, MORD, respected Sri Shashiposan Saab, DDC in charge, NIRD&PR, respected Sri Ram Charan Sohan Saab, Chief Controller of Accounts, MORD, respected CA Dr. Devashish Mitra, President, Indian Institute of Chartered Accounts of India, CA Sri Aniket Talati, Vice President, ICAI, and Sri CA Dr. Jaykumar Batra, Secretary, ICAI, and other dignitaries who participated in virtual mode, signing of MoU between NIRD&PR and ICAI. I welcome all of you this historic event of signing MoU between NIRD&PR. Welcome to all. Now I request Sri Shashiposan Saab kindly brief to say a few words about the entering to MoU between NIRD&PR and ICAI.
Respected Secretary Sir, respected DG Sir, AS and FA Madam, CCA of the Ministry, representative from ICAI. This is a momentous moment for NIRD&PR that we are in the process of signing MoU with ICAI on this date of 24th March 2022. Sir, with your kind permission, I would like to give a brief how this MoU resulted into how we reached to this stage. Ministry of Rural Development carries out various rural development programs with huge amounts for the benefit of rural people and states, and is responsible for the implementation of these programs. These programs encounter complexities and associated risks which need to be addressed on a continuous basis, and there is need to develop a very strong and robust accountability framework for all its programs. Department of Rural Development has come out with few mechanisms to institutionalize the transparency and accountability framework to promote efficiency, eliminate corruption, and ensure transparency at all stages of its program delivery, selection of beneficiary through socio-economic caste census 2011, social audit, internal audit, geotagging, and use of information technology, direct benefit transfer. Then there are several MIS, national level monitoring visits, common review mission visits, etc. Even after introducing several mechanisms as mentioned before for ensuring accountability and transparency, still program divisions face a lot of challenges regarding the implementation of program by the implementing agencies. For example, we have noticed that whatever the scheme guidelines are, it is difficult to comprehend at the ground level because most of the rural development programs are implemented at Panchayat level or block level. So it is difficult to comprehend and understand and then implement accordingly. Poor maintenance of cash book and other mandatory registers are still very common at implementing agency level, which is very important for audit purpose. The program division issued clear guidelines and instructions for the implementation of respective programs. Implementing agencies are facing difficulty in adhering to those guidelines. There is a dire need of sensitization to officials of implementing agencies on standards and procedures to follow while implementing the programs and also maintenance of records. Along with research and training, policy advocacy is the core objective of NIRD&PR. Centers of NIRD&PR are also acting as nodal centers for capacity building and monitoring of Department of Rural Development programs. It is the responsibility of NIRD&PR to suggest appropriate measures for implementation and improvement of accountability and transparency in implementation of rural development programs. To achieve this, today NIRD&PR is entering into memorandum of understanding with the institute, which is a professional body of chartered accountants and involved in sensitizing the officials of RLBs through workshop, training programs, e-learning modules, apart from formulation of accounting standards for local bodies for a robust and transparent accounting framework. NIRD&PR desires and intends to develop cooperation and collaboration with ICAI in research for development, training, and other activities which are mentioned in MoU. The tenure of this MoU will be 3 years. Hope the collaboration with ICAI will address the issue in improvement of accountability and transparency for effective use of resources in rural development programs. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. With this introduction now and brief about a memorandum of understanding by Sri sir. Now I request our respected Director General kindly share the effectiveness of financial management and importance with signing of MoU between ICAI and NIRDPR. Now,
Respected Secretary Rural Development, Sri Nagendra Sinhaji, Additional Secretary and FA, Leena Johri-ji, Ramdarshan Chawanji, who's the CCA, Deputy Director General of the NIRD in charge, Sri Shashi Bhushan, Registrar in charge, heads of centers who are present here, the ICAI representative, the President of the ICAI, Dr. Debashish Mitra, Aniket Talati ji, Vice President of the ICAI, as our Deputy Director General in charge and the financial advisor, Sri Shashi Bhushan was mentioning, it is indeed a momentous occasion for NIRDPR that we are able to sign this MoU with the ICAI, which brings together two very big sets of functionaries, the rural development functionaries and the chartered accountants who are spread across the breadth and length of this country, and professionalizing the rural development financial management. So these can be important outcomes of this collaboration. So normally, when we sign the MoU, we request the concerned center head to make a presentation on the outline of the MoU and potential areas of collaboration between the partners. Since today there was perhaps not enough time, the center was not able to make the presentation. So I will be making this presentation. Normally, I frame the issues for discussion. That we leave it to the Secretary Rural Development, who does a very eminent job of framing the various issues for collaboration and for future areas of work. So broadly speaking, NIRD memorandums of understanding we actualize and implement through a core committee. Core committee comprises of members of the collaborating team from the NIRD and from the partner institution. In this case, it is the ICAI. So we will request, as we go down the line after the MoU is signed, for the ICAI to contribute its personnel for the core committee. Once the core committee is drawn up, the core committee develops a work plan based on which the MoU is taken into implementation. The core committee also meets on a quarterly basis to take stock of the implementation of the work plan. This broadly is the structure of implementation of the MoUs in NIRD. Now I'd like to take you through a brief presentation on potential areas of collaboration between ICAI and NIRD from an NIRD perspective. Of course, we'll look to the further inputs on this from the Ministry of Rural Development, from the Secretary himself who is present, Additional Secretary who's the repository of knowledge on financial matters relating to the rural development, and from the CCA. So now the presentation. So here we're discussing potential areas of collaboration between NIRD and ICAI, taking into consideration an NIRD perspective. Just to give a brief overview of NIRD, our vision is to achieve inclusive and sustainable improvement in the quality of life of people living in rural areas. NIRD functions as a think tank for the Ministries of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, and we are involved in policy making. Next one. NIRD, as I mentioned, focuses on improving the quality of life in rural areas and aims to become an institute of national eminence and global excellence for rural development and Panchayati related areas. Next. The MoU, as Shashi Bhushan was mentioned various areas of collaboration, potential collaboration between the NIRD and the Institute of Chartered Accountant. I would not like to list all those items of collaboration, but broadly the approach for collaboration that has been worked out in the MoU is as follows. Those 4 areas have been mentioned, but the areas which are mentioned for collaboration between NIRD and the ICAI are only inclusive. So we can always expand on the areas of collaboration between NIRD and the ICAI. So normally we do not write the areas of collaboration in the MoU. MoUs tend to be generic, but in order to have some clarity between areas of collaboration between ICAI and NIRD, we hard-coded the areas of collaboration, some areas of collaboration between the ICAI and NIRD in the MoU itself. But the broad approach that has been taken in the MoU so far is as follows: to focus on some work relating to the Panchayati Raj institutions, which are really the third tier of government. So a lot of support needs to be provided to the Panchayati Raj institutions on financial management, account keeping, and so on and so forth. So more than about 2 lakh crores are being devolved to the panchayats, to the 15th Finance Commission grants. They need to be effectively utilized, and there's need for convergence in the work of the panchayat across various departments at the field level. And therefore, the resources of other departments would also come into the Panchayati Raj institutions. All these need to be taken into consideration for effective financial management at the Panchayati Raj institutions level. So here, the ICAI can play a big role in developing a good financial management system for the Panchayati Raj institutions. In addition, another area of collaboration between ICAI and NIRD and the Ministry of Rural Development is with respect to the preparation of DPRs for the rural development projects. We take a lot of efforts in planning our rural development projects, but perhaps there's still scope for improving the horizon of planning for these rural development projects. Because quite often it is said that the rural development project, a lot of effort is put out planning, but implementation is weak. But our take on it is to say that, look, if we effectively plan, we would also take into consideration the implementation systems for the projects to be rolled out. Because the planning is not strong enough, because we do not prepare a good enough detailed project report, many of the projects under the rural development programs do not do well. So here is an opportunity for us to collaborate on the various rural development projects under the rural development programs, and especially on the financial aspects of the projects, the financial flows, the return on investment, and so on and so forth needs to be focused upon. So some of the programs on which good detailed project reports can be developed are the urban mission, in which various clusters are proposed to be developed, providing urban facilities in rural areas and also boosting the economic infrastructure there, catering to continuity in the mission and the clusters. Those are areas that need to be focused upon. Development of micro enterprise, which is a major area of focus now for the ministry, need to be focused upon how we can develop good financial systems for the micro enterprises of self-help group women, who number about 8 crore in the country. And how can the ICAI and NIRD work together in preparing the detailed project reports and putting in place good financial management systems for the micro enterprises run by the self-help group women and for the self-help groups themselves. So those are areas where we can work together. Then other areas are of contracting out, especially with respect to contracting out of services by the panchayats. NIRD developed good training modules on contracting out of wash services for the Panchayati Raj institutions in congruence with the Jal Jeevan mission, because Jal Jeevan mission is investing about 3.5 lakh crore rupees in providing 5 drinking water supply to every household of the country. But effective and management and maintenance of assets is a weak area in the wash sector. So that needs to be reinforced through involvement of the panchayats. And this came out prominently in the first national conclave that NIRD conducted along with the UNICEF. So we need to work out various contracting of arrangements for the panchayats to be strong in the operation and maintenance of assets created under the Jal Jeevan mission. Here again, there's a strong scope for collaboration with the ICAI. Also, maintenance of accounts, as Shashi Bhushan was mentioning, in various bodies which are associated with the Rural Development Ministry, Panchayati Raj institutions is an area of concern that needs to be strengthened and professionalized on lines of modern practice. So that's again an area where the ICAI and NIRD can come together and work together. Developing effective monitoring and control systems is again another area that we need to collaborate on, and needless to say that monitoring systems are very, very important for effective rollout of the various programs and projects. One such example is the Prime Minister's Gram Sadak Yojana, which has done very well because of the good national quality monitors, state quality monitors, etc., whom we have put up. And they have helped monitor that scheme very well. So if we can have effective and good monitoring and control systems, we can do well with the delivery of rural development programs. That's an area where we can collaborate strongly with the ICAI. So some other areas of collaboration that I was mentioning, the MoU is only inclusive in the sense that certain other areas can always be added and can be incorporated in the work plan. So some other areas that I thought will point to the ICAI functionaries are as follows. The NIRDPR is itself moving on a path of autonomy because we want to become self-sufficient and completely self-financed in about 10 years' time or so. So transitioning of our centers, there are 21 centers in NIRDPR organized into 7 schools, which the centers of NIRDPR now work as cost centers. How do we transition them into profit centers is an area of concern for us. So that's something on which again we can collaborate with the ICAI. NIRDPR is interested with the work of the NGOs. There are only 2 organizations in the country which are now mandated to work on NGOs. One is the Planning Commission, that is the Niti Aayog, and the second is the NIRDPR. The NIRDPR got this work through its merger with CAPART. CAPART was earlier dealing with work related to NGOs. So we are now putting in place a framework for effective and efficient management of the NGO sector in the country. So under that, we plan to have a framework developed for management of NGO accounts and for financial management of NGOs, because this is an area of concern, lack of accountability and transparency in the functioning of the NGOs, and that needs to be reinforced. And that's again one area where the ICAI and NIRDPR can collaborate to put in place good systems. Own sources of revenue for panchayats has been a major area of concern, right from the Ashok Mehta Committee recommendations. The Ministry of Panchayati Raj has aimed to generate about 10% revenue from the panchayat through its own source of revenue, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, and so on. But that target has also not been reached. I think they are able to reach about 4% of revenues being raised from the panchayats. So there's a lot of scope for enhancing the own source revenues of panchayats, and that's an area in which the panchayats need to be guided, and a lot of guidance need to be provided to the panchayats through the NIRDPR to state level training institutions. Again, that's an area where we can collaborate strongly. System of financial management that I was mentioning in panchayats is again something that needs to be worked upon. Then internal audit and risk-based internal audit is an area that NIRD has been tasked to take forward initiatives. And our approach to the internal audit here and internal audit system for the Ministry of Rural Development would be that we must have a data-driven internal audit system to start with, rather than a field-based internal audit system as a starting point. Of course, there would be a field-based audit subsequent to it, but a data-driven internal audit system drawing upon the various MISs of the various programs needs to be a starting point for the internal audit. And that's again an area where ICAI and NIRD can come together, put in place a good working model. Fund flow in the Ministry of Rural Development, I'm sure the Secretary and the AS and FA will dilate more on this. But a lot of funds which are allocated to the states, they remain unutilized, and they are lying with the state governments and with the implementing agencies. They need to be brought into the mainstream of implementation as soon as possible, so that the funds are effectively utilized, and the accounts maintenance leaves much to be desired, and that also needs to be substantially improved at the state level and the implementing agency level. The PFMS and the DBT are now going for transfer of funds to the beneficiaries, to the states, and we have to now ensure that the various objectives which are written down for the PFMS are being achieved with respect to the delivery of rural development programs. I think I will stop here because there's a lot more to go into the presentation, but I do not want to encroach upon the time of the Secretary and of the Additional Secretary and FA. So I will stop here, and we will have further discussions with the ICAI. So these are few areas we thought I will flag for collaboration with the ICAI, and as we go along, we will develop a full-fledged work plan through the core committee comprising of members from both the institutions, and subsequently monitor it through quarterly meetings of the core committee. So now we look forward to further guidance from the Secretary and the AS&FA. Before that, I would like to now invite Dr. Debashish Mishra, President of ICAI, to give his address, and preceding that, we would have the signing of the MoU, exchange of the MoUs between NIRD and ICAI. Shashi. We have here a signed copy of the ICAI signed MoU. ICAI has a signed copy of NIRD.
Okay, we are signing it. Thank you.
Okay.
And a very good morning to all of you.
Yeah.
Greetings from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India.
Can I request you, Mr. Debashish, that you can hold up your copy of the MoU? Likewise, our DDG and financial advisor.
Yeah, sure, sir.
This copy of the MoU as a token gesture of action.
Yeah. Okay. Can we just stand up? Stand up. Okay, all right.
We're going to take a picture.
Come on.
Yeah, over to you, Dr. Debashish Mitra.
Thank you.
Just like that. Okay, all right. So, good morning, everybody. Dr. G. Narendra Kumar, Director General, NIRD&PR, the Secretary, MORD, to all the other distinguished officials who are present, the Honorable Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Aniket Talati, the Secretary of the Institute, Sri Jay Batra, Mr. Sridhar Upala, who is the Vice Chairman of this committee, and to everybody else, a very, very good morning. A few words about the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. But let me tell you at first that how happy I am that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is joining hands with the National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, for carrying out projects in the interest of the nation. A few words about the Institute. We are the second largest accounting body in the world. We have in India today, because this will be of news to you, we have 164 branches. So we want to take help of the infrastructure that we have all over the country, 164 branches, 5 regional offices. So you see, all these branches and regional offices will spread out and help in ensuring that this program for which we have jointly for which we have signed the MoU, for which we have joined hands, will be successful. Let me tell you, I heard Dr. Narendra Kumar speak about internal audit. I have heard him speaking about risk-based internal audit. And those are words which are extremely important at the Institute. Let me tell you, we have developed the internal audit standards. These standards are also talk about risk-based internal audit. And we have also developed standards for the urban local bodies. We have also developed standards for them. And needless to mention, Institute is a leader in developing the accounting standards and the auditing standards. So when we join hands together, I'm sure, we will take great pleasure of ensuring that our common goal, that is the development of the nation, is fulfilled. The late President of India had described the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India as a partner in nation building. So again, when we join hands with you, we take forward his dream, and we ensure that whatever we do with you, the nation benefits. Thank you very much for having trust and faith in the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Thank you very much for having signed this MoU with us. And let me assure you that hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, we will work together to ensure the success of this program and ensure that at the end of the day, the nation benefits. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a great opportunity for us since we have the vast coverage of ICAI across world. This is a great opportunity. Now I request Srimati Lena Zori Madam kindly share the importance of announcement on this occasion, Madam. Over to Lena Zori.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank DGNIRDPR for this session today. Honorable Secretary, sir, DGNIRDPR, President of ICAI, Dr. Devashish Mitra, uh, Aniket Talatiji, Vice President ICAI, CCA, the team ICAI and the team of officers at NIRDPR present here. A very warm welcome from my side too. And as we know that NIRDPR is the premier institute dealing with both rural development and Panchayati Raj, looking after the whole rural ecosystem, implementation of its program, not necessarily, but it works like a think tank and and plays both a advisory role and implementing role also through its various facets of training, uh, transfer of rural technology, building the ecosystem of rural India by ensuring democratic decentralization process through the training of functionaries, mainstreaming of gender issues, building capacities of rural community, improve operation of efficiencies of rural development personnel, technology transfers, and so on and so forth. However, this all these things which are very important, but what is important, the huge budget which RD has for the implementation of its various program. The whole objective of it is that the guidelines are very clearly and nicely formulated, but still we see there are certain aberrations or some lack of understanding in its implementation. As a result, the constant internal audit and all those requirements keep on emerging. What was of huge interest to me from the financial side, that as you had mentioned, DG sir, that this you had stated the core objectives of what this MOU entails, and you will be having a core team which will include officials from your side as well as ICAI side, who will keep on meeting quarterly and touching base that what has happened with the with regard to the stated goals and what needs to be done further on. The issues of financial management and accounting, financial system for micro enterprises, which Secretary Sir is pushing very hard to take a proper and a very business-like uh, approach in its evolution and in its settlement. And this can only happen when the finances, the financial understanding, accounting, etc., is very strongly understood and embedded in that. So I think this will go a long way in fulfilling that objective and further strengthening the National Rural Livelihood Program, which has spread all across the country, irrespective in all the states and UTs. And financial management in Panchayat is another very important aspect, because if that happens there, I think it will help in re-energizing the Panchayati Raj institutions also. The risk-based internal audit, I think that is happening, but I think if that is further deliberated upon and further crystallized, it will help in carrying the whole thing further forward. Last but not the least, the fund flow, which you have mentioned in your presentation, sir. Uh, I think all of us are aware that Department of Expenditure has very clearly stated in its current uh, office memorandum that how fund flows has to happen. There has to be no blocking of fund, real-time fund transfer and usage of PFMS. So all these things will not only help in rationalizing and ensuring that fund flow is smooth and happens exactly when there is a requirement emerging, and if this is taken up as as a conscious part in the MoU, this will definitely help in meeting the objectives of the department and program per se. I heartily welcome this initiative of this MoU signing, which has happened just now in the presence of Secretary Sir and the August gathering. And I wish this MoU a very that this will help in meeting the objectives and fulfilling the goals that are there for all of us to achieve. And as we say that finance is the I would say the glue or the lubricant which drives the program, and if they are correctly managed, accounted for, nothing better than that. I wish all the very best, and I hope all of us contribute to the nation building by this, because if all the monies which are with us are well spent and well accounted for, then I think our job is well done. Thank you so much, and my best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Rightly mentioned understanding of financial aspects in this hour. Now I request Sri Ramdarshan Sohan Saab, Chief Controller of Accounts, MORD, kindly brief about this importance of financial management on this occasion. Sir, over to Ramdarshan Sohan.
Respected Secretary Sir, respected AS and FA Leena Jawhari ma'am, and respected DG NIRDPR, Sri Sasi Bhushan DDG, and the team, and Dr. Devashish Misra, President ICAI, and his team. Sir, I am very happy to be part of the occasion of the signing of MoU, and which is envisaging working together to mutually beneficial association and would help in development and strengthening of accounting, financial and audit knowledge base in rural development program. Sir, in August 2021, we had a collaboration seminar, 1 week seminar with ICAI and NIRDPR on the financial management of welfare scheme of the government focusing on rural development. That was a very, very happy workshop, sir, and it was beneficial to all the stakeholders. Sir, this MoU includes inter alia the collaboration scope of the collaboration includes improving the accountability and transparency and effectiveness in implementation of rural development program, interlinking of all transactions to e-Gram Swaraj and PFMS interface, and the monitoring and controls to be followed for effective implementation of RD programs, which includes the better control mechanism and bookkeeping. And ICAI is the authority in this field, and advocacy on procedure in accounting system which are relevant to program implementation. As mentioned by Dr. Devashish that they had developed accounting internal audit standards. Sir, we those standards we have adopted in our curriculum for the teaching of the internal auditor training program and the master trainers. And sir, this would be a very, very kind of healthy start of the signing of MoU, which entail kind of collaboration in the field of internal audit, data-driven internal audit, PFMS, and the financial management and the accounting. I hope, sir, this MoU will go a long way, and I wish all the best for the future journey in this regard by both team. Thank you, sir.
Start. Shall we start? Honorable Secretary Saab, I'm just requesting you kindly address this August gathering. I'm over to Secretary Saab.
Good morning to everyone. Dear colleagues from the NIRDPR, Dr. G. Narendra Kumar, DG, NIRD&PR,
Mr. Sasi Bhushan, the financial advisor and the DDG in charge, other colleagues from the NIRD&PR, my colleagues from the ministry, Srimati Leena Johari, Additional Secretary and Financial Advisor, Shri R.D. Chauhan, Chief Controller of Accounts, colleagues from the ICAI, its President, Dr. Devashish Mitra, its Vice President, Sri Aniket Talati, and Secretary, Sri Dr. Jay Batra, and everyone else present on this August occasion. It's a great occasion on which two eminent institutions of the country, and who are themselves giants in their own areas, NIRD&PR being the think tank and the repository of a huge deal of knowledge dating back to at least about 60 odd years, and the ICAI, the knowledge, the repository of everything relating to accounting and financial management. Coming together of these two institutions through this MoU would certainly benefit the area of both rural development, as it will enrich the accounting and the financial management which the ICAI represents. I would like to hark back to the name of the profession. I see the chartered accountant. So the chartered accountants are not merely accountants, but accountants chartered by the government and chartered by the state. So the chartered accountants bear a greater degree of responsibility, as the supervision of the accounting processes done by them on behalf of the clients, ministries, state governments, autonomous bodies, and many others. So the chartered accountants are required to ensure and assure that the financial management and accounting are as per the policies of the institution that laid down those standards, and also help develop those issues through their advice. We know and we are aware that the rural development activities are being carried out by local bodies spread throughout the length and breadth of the country. If we see the numbers, which are simply mind-boggling, 270,000 gram panchayats, about over 7,000 intermediate panchayat, over 700 Jila Parishads, large number of municipal bodies, and large number of programs. It's not merely one program, but multiple programs. Even this ministry is running so many programs which are going down to the villages. So if the money flowing through these programs is to be effectively managed, ensured, if we are to ensure that the fund which is being provided to the rural areas are being put to the best use and most optimal use, then we need to ensure that these policies and their implementation on ground are indeed being made in the manner in which the best possible use is made. We are aware that the country has a per capita income of about $2,000 on a PPP basis at this moment. And if we are to reach the level of middle income countries, we have to go up to about $10,000 per annum per capita. So we have to actually go up 5 times. And if we are indeed looking at the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister in the 25 years from now, we need to do a lot of groundwork, and whatever money we have, we are earmarking through the central government and the state government and multiple other financing channels are being put to the best possible use. We are often very fond of saying that money is no problem, but if we look at the vision of the rural area, which is to take us from an income level of $2,000 per capita per annum to $10,000 per capita per annum in a foreseeable period of time, this is a very tall order, and we all have to ensure that the best possible use of money is made. Now, what we see is also to be taken into account. Many of us who are today speaking on this occasion have had experience working in the field areas. We have held charges at the sub-divisional level, district level, state level, and have dealt with many of the programs on various occasions. What we find that the reports that we get from the professionals are reports which are merely, they do not give us much ideas as to how the accounting is faring, and if the comments are there, they are very brief, and there are many reasons why this is happening. So we need to actually make sure that the reports that come out through the financial audit of the panchayat bodies of different programs are actually reflective of the situation. I am harping on this point, and please don't understand that I'm being critical, but one needs to see the social audit, the internal audit, and the financial audit often done by the chartered accountants. There is a huge degree of disconnect. If these are being done in a very considered manner, very methodical manner, one would not see that degree of disconnect. So one of the tasks which I propose the MoU must aim at ensuring is that the degree of disconnect between the financial audit, the social audit, and the internal audit is minimized. Right? NIRD&PR and ICAI are best suited to this task because NIRD&PR is, in any case, doing a lot of work on integration of the internal audit and the social audit. So this discordance and variance between these three forms of audit need to be minimized. So another area which I would like to mention in this regard is the issue of, and I'm again prefacing my remarks with the proviso that I'm merely reflecting on the situation, and I think getting ideas for improvement, not being critical of anyone in particular. So what we see that when firms take up accounting of particular programs in rural areas, the summaries that come out should actually give out a general perspective of how the program has been managed. I mean, submission of financial audits and utilization certificates, those are tasks which need to be handled. But if the summaries provided by the individual chartered accountants who undertake audit of, say, program like 15 Finance Commission grants or Mahatma Gandhi Narega, if they provide us with an overview of what kind of violations are happening, is the violation on account of difficult and complicated procedures? Is there any way in which it could be simplified, yet the objective of ensuring the best possible use of the funds can be ensured, and if the institute as a overall umbrella body can ensure through guidance to its members that they indulge in such an exercise, and finally at the end of the year, taking into account the submissions filed by the its individual members, provides an annual summary of what needs to be done by the program managers and through institutions, through NIRDPR and their bodies. That probably helps us move towards a higher pedestal of financial management and accounting. So I would propose that the NIRD and PR undertake this exercise in concert with ICAI very strongly. The other task which I think is important, and it was mentioned by DG, NIRD and PR, was of the efficient NGO accounts and financial management. This area has not been touched well, although there are initiatives like NGO Darpan, etc. So, very small elaboration of my thoughts on this issue. Are generally registered under Societies Registration Act. Society Registration Acts are administered by the state government. The state governments do not ensure that the societies do indeed file their annual reports, and the annual reports address the different concerns, including those of the financial management, on a regular basis. So if we are to ensure that indeed the NGOs are doing a credible exercise of managing the funds which have been entrusted not by individual ministries, but they have been provided interest for undertaking activities. And mind you, they are unelected bodies. Those are interested with funds because they need to earn credit, and they have earned credit in the past. So whether or not that credit, that faith, that assurance is indeed being measured and reflected in the tasks that they are performing is an issue which we need to assure, and working together and collaboration between NIRD and PR and the ICAI would be important for this purpose. The issues on which my colleagues have raised with regard to the education of the village accounting personnel, the program implementing agencies through collaboration between the two institutions is indeed important, and we need to probably reflect as to in what manner, even while the chartered accountants are conducting in audits, they can bring about improvement in the levels of financial understanding. Understanding of the accounting and financial management procedures is one task. The manner in which the contents of the courses which the NIRD and PR conducts can be augmented to reflect this understanding is another task which I would tend to believe needs to be taken up. Data-driven and risk-driven, risk-based internal audits, risk-based social audits. These would also be are important areas, and how to identify those risks would indeed be important. And I would propose that the NIRD and PR take them into account while working out the collaboration which has been signed in form of the MoU. There are other areas, monitoring and control systems, the interface interlinking with the Gram Swaraj, PFMS, and other MIS system, transaction-based MIS systems are also important. These were some of the thoughts. As I mentioned early into my address, is that these are two giants of institutions, and each institution has certain expectation of the what the other institutions should do, and each institution is also aware of the shortcomings of the way in which they are conducting their operations and what needs to be done. So if we bring both these perspectives together, I'm sure, and if there is an honest attempt in addressing those gaps and enhancing, in fact, the way the programs have been managed, so as to ensure that the overall goal of reaching us into middle income, in India being made into a middle income country in a foreseeable period of time is realized, we need to work together. And I'm sure the work plan and the approach towards implementation of the MoU, which have been presented by NIRD&PR and articulated by DG, would indeed be assured and would result into much better implementation of these programs, and we would surely be benefited. Thank you very much for providing me with an opportunity of addressing you on this occasion.
Thank you very much, sir. You rightly mentioned the ministry is running multiple programs. So optimal use of finances is a major concern, and also variations in different audit reports, especially social audit, internal audit, and financial audit. So these need to be minimized, these variations, the processes and other things. And also you have mentioned these monitoring and controlling systems, MIS and e-governance, the Gram Swaraj activities and other things also, sir. Thank you very much, sir, giving your precious time and participating in this historic event. Now I request Sri Aniket S. Talati, Vice President, ICAI, kindly offer a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. First of all, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Sri Narendranath Sinhaji, the Honorable Secretary, MORD, along with Ms. Leena Johri and the entire team at the Ministry. I also appreciate and thank the entire team at NIRDPR, Dr. G. Narendra Kumar Ji and his entire team. Thank you very much for being present here and having this historic session, though virtually. I think it's going to be a red letter day for both the institutions where we have signed this MOU. And I'm sure, like the Honorable Secretary mentioned, both of us have to know our strengths, weaknesses, and try and merge together, come together in a way that the dream of the Honorable Prime Minister and also the aspirations of 1.3 billion people of coming into the middle income group can be truly achieved. I would only say what our Honorable President said in terms of being a partner in nation building. This was a tag given to us by none other than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the past President of India. And we all chartered accountants take this in the right earnest and in the real spirit that whatever functions we do, we have to keep India first and do these activities of partnering in nation building. Secretary Sir very rightly mentioned that the financial audit, the way they are designed, they only give out a report which would tell about the compliance of accounting standards and whether the accounts are true and fair. They are never designed in a manner to give any feedback or input. But yes, sir, the internal audits which are now being proposed and will be carried out, they are risk-based. So they not only identify risks, but will also suggest controls, which may be preventive controls to make sure that these kind of leakages or other aspects do not happen. There will be corrective actions which can be taken. And I'm sure, sir, when these internal audit reports are done through this MOU and more firms, more and more chartered accountants get involved in this project. We have the Honorable Chairperson of this committee, CA Kamisha Soniji, and the Vice Chairman, Mr. Mupara Sridhar, coming from Indore in Madhya Pradesh, and he's from Telangana. And I think we have a council spread across the country, but more importantly, our membership is now across various Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. And when all of us, under the leadership of Kamisha Ji and Mr. Sridhar, all the firms will pull up their socks and ensure that we work in conjunction with the ministry and with NIRDPR this objective in the internal audit is also achieved. So the financial audits will give the compliance with the accounting standard and the taxation framework. The feedback which the secretary and the ministry is looking for will come out in the internal audits. And sir, very importantly, let me mention to you, you will be extremely glad to note that on the social audit, there are no standards, internationally also very few social audit standards available, but the ICAI has a sustainability reporting standards board. And you will be aware, sir, that the Honorable Prime Minister has been discussing sustainability at all global forums. And we are one of the first in the world to set up a sustainability standards board. We are working very closely with SEBI on the social stock exchange, which we are expecting to come up this year. And in those, the social audit will be mandated, sir, and ICAI is coming up with social audit standards. Like you rightly mentioned, sir, the social audit benchmarks and how you calculate the efficacy of the funds getting used in a social audit is very different than a financial audit. And here too, sir, chartered accountants will play a huge role. And we look forward that in this MoU that we have entered today, we extend the scope going forward, not only in internal audit, but also looking at the social audit, which was also mentioned in the presentation that was being presented by the DG in the last slide. So yes, we are covering those social audits also. Once again, on behalf of the Institute, I thank all of you for sparing your valuable time and entering into this very important MoU. And I'm sure under the leadership of Kamisha ji, Mr. Mupala Sridhar and our Honorable President, the ICAI is fully committed to ensure that this MoU is extremely successful and we make meaningful progress down the line. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now
Thank
we
you, Secretary,
formally,
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
now we formally close this historic event of signing of MoU between ICAI and NIRDPR. Thank you very much, Sonunda.
Thank you, team NIRDPR. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.